who had initiated such communication? And if they are different, then you can enumerate each and talk about who had initiated and what each communication was about.
The communication was through, all the time, was through Sergeant Ngosi.
But at whose instance?
If I remember well, the communication was regarding after the raid, why did I tell the police that I know him? So, I think it should be in December. After the raid, maybe before January, I think there was a communication.
Okay.
I'm just confused. I'm not. Okay. I'm sorry. I am not.
Are you now referring? Remember, there were 2 raids in December. There was a raid at your house.
Yes.
Where the police were looking for Mr. Bushokha. Then there was a raid at CAT VIP services where there was the issue with the key and the fact that it's not in the right safe and firearms were taken. Which raid are you referring to?
After the first raid, I think 10 days after the first raid, that's when, 10 days after the first raid, that's when I made that High Court agent application. Yes. And in that High Court application, that's when I mentioned that I know General Sibia. Yes. So that's when I get a message from Sergeant Ngosi that why did I mention that I know him? Because it was in the media, I think. So that's why I'm saying I think in December there was some communication.
So after the 20th of December? Yes,
somewhere there, yes.
Thank you. So, do you recall having a discussion with General Sibia about an application that was necessary to launch for the return of the guns and I think jewelry you said had been seized during the raid of your house or office, one of them?
Yes, but that is part of the case that I'm attending in the Johannesburg High Court.
Medicare?
No, not Medicare, the other one. In Johannesburg High Court.
The one concerning the conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, yes, and lawful possession of a firearm and ammunition, money laundering.
Yes.
What relevance does General Sibia have?
There is relevance because I have my defense. I need to establish how did I end up being arrested. So because in my phone records, they are relying that I'm part of me and General Sibia and Minister Mkhunu. We part of people who plan to dismantle this PKTT unit. So that is something that I'm going to argue in trial, that how did I end up getting arrested.
What is the crime in dismantling the PKTT?
The crime?
Well, you said, perhaps I misheard you, my apologies. You said there is an accusation that yourself, General Sibia and Minister Mkhunu are what about the PKTT?
Commissioner, when they did my cell phone downloads, there was communication which I do not want to, but it's part of evidence in my criminal court in the Johannesburg matter. But there is those engagements and where also General Sibia has been involved there.
You said something about the PKTT. Can you say that again?
The dismantle, of the T.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yes.
So that's why I say, what is the crime in disbanding the PKTT? What's your understanding arising from that case?
Not the crime, not the crime, Commissioner. I'm saying part of my defense. I'm going to establish in court how did I end up getting arrested. The only way for me to explain this to you now, I have to go deep and which I do not want to do that, and now disclose my defense strategy.
No.
So I do not want to do that.
I'm not inviting you to. I was talking about an application you initiated or instituted in December
Yes.
for the return of your guns and jewelry, which had been seized during one of the raids.
Yes.
And I asked the question whether you had not engaged with General Sibia around that application for the return of your property. So your response then speaks to the criminal case of murder and attempted murder and the disbandment of PKTT. And I'm not sure I understand.
Because your question, what you're asking me now,
Yes.
is also part of evidence. What you just asked me now is part of evidence, which is in my cell phone downloads.
Isn't maybe isn't that perhaps, Mr. Madlanga, the best way to proceed is the direct question that is asked is you had such an application before court where you went to court to seek a return of your firearms. That's what Ms. Silo has asked at this point. So it seems to me that your answer would be yes, I did, or no, I did not. And then we pass that and let's hear what is the next question before you get to a point where you say, but that case has to do with the matter that I'm presently facing and the defense. So maybe take it step by step. At this point, all she asks is you had such an application where you went to court, you wanted a return of your guns and jewelry. And answering that question at this point does not require you to get into the detail of that application, and I don't know if she intends to ask you that further question, but at least as a starting point, your answer doesn't require you to speak about what was in that application.
Commissioner, I already conceded that yes, I've made that High Court application, but the next question was, did I ever discuss that with General Sibia? That was her question.
And your answer could be yes or no. And if she says, what did you discuss? It seems to me that at that point, you may well attempt to raise your defense, your privilege.
Commissioner, I don't think this is fair because now I'm disclosing part of my defense strategy now. I don't think that is a fair move. I don't think so.
You're not, at least as I understand, you're not saying, I don't want to answer that question because it will incriminate me. You're saying, I don't want to answer the question because I don't want to disclose my defense strategy.
Yeah, that's correct.
So it's the second one.
Yes, that's correct.
And Mr. Lowe will decide whether that's good enough for purposes of further discussion.
Well, I would think that, and perhaps it's a tad unfair to Mr. Madlanga, because the answer really lies in Section 3, Sub 4 of the Act, which means he must invoke some legal privilege. And in regulation, I think 610, it tells you that the only basis to refuse to answer a question is if you establish a privilege contemplated in Section 3.4, which is a privilege as recognized in law, and fear to disclose your defense as not one such privilege. So if that is the only basis, then you do not bring yourself within the ambit of the protection, because that does not constitute privilege, and you will be compelled to answer. You are raising a wrong basis to refuse to answer. It's not an acceptable basis, as determined by the law, not by us around here.
Maybe, Commissioner, is because you are speaking to, I'm just a mere layman. I do not understand law And then I do not know which case law I should invoke in these things. I think maybe my legal counsel will help me with that. I do not know how to invoke which section for that.
I think that's fair. That's fair. So maybe to address myself to the commissioners and ask the commissioners to inquire from Advocate Missy whether she would like to engage with that point on your behalf.
Thank you.
Thank you.